Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this Monday's episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. I am solo today. I hope all you in Chicagoland are staying dry and all our friends across the nation are enjoying your day as well. We are 1 week closer to Chicago Bears football, and we are 1 week closer to training camp for the Chicago Bears, which starts right during the week of 7/26. That is 2 weeks away, with multiple practices during the following weeks until August 21st, 8/21. Camp will be held at Hallis Hall in Lake Forest, Illinois, and tickets are on sale now to go watch your Chicago Bears prepare for the 2022 NFL season. This is the first training camp where Matt Eberflus will be leading the way, who is saying that the Chicago Bears are going to play with a much higher intensity tempo this upcoming season, and he is going to bring that to kick things off right away into training camp. Players have been saying he's already been doing that during OTAs, which they are very big fans of, and as the fans, we are as well. So keep staying tuned, and we're going to keep seeing more, and you're going to see a lot of it. But today, we are going to be going over what you will see with that high intensity tempo and, a couple players that are already a little bit on the hot seat entering camp. So stay tuned for that. But before we hit on more, we'd like to thank today's sponsor, Unbound Coffee. Unbound Coffee Company delivers high coffee with the best coffee related t-shirts in the business to your door with free shipping on all orders. And the best part is for every item sold by Unbound. Wow, that was a bad voice crack. Sorry about that. Every item sold by Unbound Coffee Company, $2 is donated to a charity or nonprofit of your choice. Unbound donates locally and nationwide. They will donate to your community as well as some of the biggest charities in the world. Select your cause at checkout and use code JAY for 50% off your first order, or if you sign up with a subscription to save an additional 10% and donate to your favorite charity or nonprofit every time your order renews. That's 25% off your first order when you when you use code JSHY. You know what? I had my coffee, guys. I'm going a little fast today. Sorry about that. Unbound Coffee, it is freaking good. I will say that. Make sure you use our code JSHY to sign up for the subscription at www.unboundcoffeecompany.com. Start living unbound today. So, the style of training camp that you guys are going to see this upcoming season or this upcoming training camp, it's going to be a little bit different than years past. Again, you're not at Bourbon A's anymore. We are at Lake Forest, where Hallis Hall is located. Just want to kick things off, but I am happy that they are allowing fans this year. Last year with the COVID protocols, they were being a little safer, on the safer side, as they should be, especially with the uncertainty that we had last year. But it was difficult because numbers were so limited for training camp next year, accepting the social distancing, which I'm sure they will be safe again this upcoming season, but there will be more fans for sure. I mean, tickets were given out last year. They weren't even sold. So it's good to see that they're selling tickets. But again, Hallis Hall was not designed at first to have these training camps at it. Bourbon A's is where the Bears always were training camp until the last couple of years. But they have plenty of parking in all the offices around that facility, so stay tuned for that. But numbers are still likely going to be limited. It's not as big of a space. But now that it is, it's time that we get creative at Hallis Hall. It's going to be a lot of fun. So the style of camp that you're going to see from a coach's perspective, and this is going to be a lot different this year that you haven't seen either, is that you're going to see no filters. You're going to see coaches yelling at players. They're not going to be like, oh, yeah, kids are over here. Obviously, hopefully they're not, using inappropriate language or anything like that. But they're not going to be afraid to be like, hey, you got to go do that. Hey, that's the wrong play. We've gone over this how many times now, guys? Matt Eberflus and his staff are going to be hard on these players because they want to prepare them to be the most competitive team that they can be this upcoming season. And, players yelling at each other are also going to be likely to happen because guys are going to want to play better and guys want to be here and play for the Chicago Bears. Unlike something you haven't seen the last couple of years under Matt Nagy. When you have a leader like Matt Eberflus that wants to win, people will follow and you're going to get a better performance out of your players. Players like Eddie Jackson, Jalen Johnson, Justin Fields, Roquan Smith, and Darnell Mooney have all praised Matt Eberflus and his coaching style so far through player OTAs and mini mandatory camp. They're saying that Coach Eberflus is more confident. He has a better flow of the, football operations. They feel more confident in the system, which also you got to remember, this isn't their first head coach. They've had Matt Nagy, Eddie Jackson had John Fox. This is different for the Chicago Bears. And usually guys are a little saucy when they get rid of their first head coach that brought them into the league and took a chance on them. Not the case here in Chicago. Just putting that out there. Unfortunately, I have to say it Matt Nagy was not the guy. Sorry, Ron. I had to say the name. But which, it's not common for guys to be happy about losing their first head coach, but they're happy. And that's all that we want to hear. And especially for Eddie Jackson to speak up and say something about it, that's big right there, because Eddie Jackson, hopefully, and we talked about this a couple videos ago, is going to be more unlocked in Matt Eberflus's type of defense, making him a ball hawk all over again. Also, bringing players in that have played in Matt Eberflus's style or have played for Matt Eberflus is always big, because even though some guys aren't used to a coach yelling at them, at least since Pee Wee football, or, getting down on them saying, hey, like, you got to be better, tough love mentality. Guys who have been in their situation, not understanding that, knowing that Matt Eberflus is doing it because he wants his team to be better, it gives encouragement. So you kind of have your, from a coach to a player perspective, you have your allies that are going to be like, hey, you might not like how he's doing it, but this is going to make you a better person and better football player for the Chicago Bears. Guys are going to be more aggressive on the field during practice as well. A lot of it's not going to be full-blown contact in the beginning. It will be later in the summer. But Matt Nagy was terrified of guys getting hurt. People said that drills were slow, that people didn't benefit from it. You had Eddie Jackson saying, we don't have to tackle, you don't have to worry about that. But, like any coach, he's terrified of your players getting hurt before the season starts. You had Dakota Dozer that's out for the rest of the season due to a leg injury. But it was a point where guys weren't even doing anything at camp under Matt Nagy, and they were only making flashy plays for social media highlight clips. Matt Eberflus wants these guys to be in tip-top shape, but also be able to handle a hit prior to week 1 against the 49ers, and that's what he's going to bring to training camp. But also, he wants to make it entertaining for the fans. He wants the fans to feel confident that they have a good football team out there. So guys are going to be more aggressive from that standpoint because the coaches are going to tell them to, but also guys are going to be more aggressive because there's no more gimmies on this team anymore. Eddie Jackson can be replaced. Cole Kmet can be replaced. And you've got everyone on the offensive line that can be replaced, especially you already have a battle going on right now with Tevin Jenkins fighting for the starting right tackle position because of rookie, Braxton Jones is in there. So we're unsure that, Tevin Jenkins is going to start at right tackle week 1. Braxton Jones has impressed coaches big time, especially being a later round pick. So kind of keep an eye out for that. It's something interesting that you're going to want to keep an eye on. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, about who he's going to be the hardest on. But Eberflus wants guys out here, not only that are going to give 100% on the field, but actually want to win for the Chicago Bears and aren't just getting a paycheck. If you play like Eddie Jackson has the last couple seasons after getting a major contract extension, you're not going to be in Chicago very long, or you're not going to be playing football for very long. And that's going to hurt your resume moving forward in your career. So that's something that you're going to see at camp. You're going to see, a lot of tough love. And that's something that Bears fans, we're from Chicago. We're tough people. Or Bears fans are just tough people in general. You're going to see that a lot coming up in training camp this year. So kind of want to hit on who Matt Eberflus is going to be the hardest on this upcoming training camp. And I have a list of 3 individuals and a group as a whole. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me retract on that. I have 2 groups with a few call outs in those respected groups, 2 individuals. So let's kick it off. My number 1 on the list, anyone on that offensive line is going to be on the absolute hot seat in Matt Eberflus's eyes, which will lead to my number 2, but let me go over the offensive line first. Tevin Jenkins is going to have to, again, fight for that first spot on the right tackle. Looked like a guaranteed. Tevin Jenkins looks good. He looks mean. He looks lean. He's ready to hit. He looks healthy. That back injury, no problem. All good to go. And that's something that we're happy to see as a fan. But Matt Eberflus was like, hey, I'm sending a message that no one's got a guarantee on this roster. Everyone, all the analysts, our fans, ourselves here at Just Another Year Chicago, we're thinking like, hey, Tevin Jenkins got it in the bag. He's going to be the starting right tackle for the Chicago Bears this upcoming season. Not anymore. Absolutely not. Braxton Jones has made that a very difficult situation because he's been getting a lot more playing time running with the ones. And the reason why we also thought that Braxton Jones would start at guard, though, but why he's not doing that is because of a guy named Sam Mustipher at center, which we'll get into in a second. So Tevin Jenkins, he's going to be on if one mistake. Eberflus is going to be in his ear. Hey, you want to be a starter? You're going to have to do this. You're going to let the rookie outplay you. I am excited for that because even though at the time I didn't like it when I was playing football when I was younger, it made me into a tougher individual and made me want to fight harder for where I wanted to be. So I like that mentality that Matt Eberflus is bringing to the Chicago Bears. Now, just hit on another guy, Sam Mustipher, who's starting at center. He's been running with the ones at center. A lot of people thought Lucas Patrick was going to be in that position, which Lucas Patrick can easily replace him considering how good of a run blocking center he was last year. He was ranked number 3 among centers. But if Mustipher struggles like he did last year, that could easily kick him to the second team. That would move Braxton Jones into right guard in theory, and then Tevin Jenkins to right tackle. Again, no gimmies though. I'm just putting it out there as a theory. You could have another rookie out there that's still better, that they see better than Tevin Jenkins, and that's going to make Tevin Jenkins want to play even harder. So Sam Mustipher, I liked him a lot back during the COVID season, but he's got to get back on track. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But again, that offensive line, he's going to be very tough on, because his number two that he's going to be tough on, if the offensive line performs well, number two has no excuse, technically number one, but number two on my list technically has no excuses in progressing. So my number two on my list is Justin Fields. Eberflus is going to be hard on this offensive line. If they're going to perform better and give Justin Fields time, give the backfield time, make opportunities for plays, you put play makers in Justin Fields' hands this upcoming season, there's no excuse. There is one excuse, that he's a young guy learning a new playbook. Justin Fields looks good in offseason training so far, but Eberflus will want to make sure it's a low excuse situation, at least during his sophomore season, and because he wants him to perform well. Justin Fields is a tough, hardworking guy. He's going to want that from his coach. He's going to want that confidence from his coach in order to go out and do something like that. So I am very excited for Matt Eberflus to be tough on Justin Fields during training camp. And again, it's just to make him a better football player. It's not that he doesn't like him. And then number three on my list is tight end Cole Kmet. So third-year tight end out of Notre Dame. There are now, it's a more tight end friendly offense from Luke Getsy, bringing it down from Green Bay. And Kmet needs to prove that he's the real deal that we got from Notre Dame when we drafted him in the second round a couple of years ago. Jimmy Graham is no longer on the roster, so in theory, Cole Kmet's the number one. But that doesn't mean that they don't have other guys fighting for roster spots on this roster. Ryan Griffin was a starter with the New York Jets and Houston Texans, guy that we brought in this year from free agency. He could do it again if Kmet slips, and I hope he doesn't, because I really like Cole Kmet, local Chicago kid from Arlington Heights. I think that Kmet could, be that, it could have the breakout season. Everyone's predicting it, especially with Luke Getsy and Justin Fields. Luke Getsy bringing Justin Fields to a new level, the offensive line bringing Justin Fields to a new level, but Kmet's got to perform. That, and Eberflus is going to let him know it if Kmet is not performing. And number four on my list, just to wrap things up for you guys, is the entire defense. No one is safe except Roquan Smith. Eberflus, a defensive-minded guy, knows what it takes to be a top defense, especially what he had last year with the Indianapolis Colts. If you're not helping this team, Eberflus is going to tell you to sit on the bench, and he's going to find someone that will do it, or he's going to put them wherever they need to go. So pretty much what it's going to be, and that's the mentality that the Bears have been missing for a long time. I felt like Lovie Smith even did that, but Lovie Smith was a soft-spoken guy, so it's hard to say, but I really like where Matt Eberflus is taking this. I'm excited for the tough mentality, the tough love mentality he's bringing to camp this upcoming season, so stay tuned for that. But thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. That's all we have on this topic of Matt Eberflus. We have plenty of training camp videos coming out, so make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you follow us on all of our social media platforms. I have it right below me, at least my Instagram and my Twitter, and make sure to follow Official Jay Shy on other platforms. So with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody, and we will see you guys next time.